Hello, hello, my love. I hope this finds you doing so well. Today, I am sharing a conversation I recently had with Carey Cramer, who was in Anchored 2.5 years ago. We talk all about their experience in the program, what brought them into it, and how their life has changed. As always, I share these conversations because when I was neck deep in my own codependent, perfectionist, and people pleasing emotional outsourcing habits, I had absolutely no model of how else to live. I didn't know what was possible. And now my life is so radically, wildly different. And so it's a pleasure and a delight and a privilege to share these stories of folks who've said yes to Anchored, said yes to themselves, said yes to changing their lives. So without further ado, take it away, Carrie. Hello. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, it's truly my pleasure. Like, really.
Thank you for that. Would you take a moment to introduce yourself? Tell the good people your name and your pronouns and where you live, whose land you're on.
Yes, yes, yes. Hi, I'm Carrie. My pronouns are they, them, and I live on Tewa Toa Tiwa land, which is colonially known as Santa Fe, New Mexico. And there was one other section of that. Will you remind me what it was?
I don't even remember.
Ah, great. Well, there we go.
Cool. Oh,
Name,
there we
pronoun, where I live. We did it.
the job
Yeah.
us. I want to start by talking about the fact that it took us over a half hour uh,
Yeah.
to actually get this recording going because it was just glitching and farting and just like tech farts, not other farts, but it
Yeah.
was just like glitch after glitch after glitch.
Yes.
And we both made note of the fact that past us would not be laughing.
We both made note of that. We were both thinking, oh, like now we're laughing about this. It's silly. It's actually fun and enjoyable rather than stressful and tense and breath caught in my throat because, yeah, I mean, you have your own experience with it, but I was sharing from being an anchored with you, from coaching with you. So I guess the good people should know that I not only did anchored, but I have gone on, remained an alum after Anchored for almost 2 years now. So
Wow.
isn't that wild? It's been almost 2 years,
Mm.
if not 2 years exactly. Um, so I've been working with you for I guess that's 2.5 years because Anchored is 6 months long, and so I feel very blessed in that regard. But so that's relevant because since working with you for the time that I have, I've gotten to not only experience Anchored, but then yeah, so much more of your journey and experience as time has gone on, and uh, learning about like that as adults we get to make mistakes, or even if things happen, that even if this tech issue was my fault, whatever that even means, it still is just a mistake and it still gets to be received graciously or like with care. It doesn't mean that you get to treat me badly. And anyway, so I was reflecting on that with all this, like, oh, it just gets to be fun and silly because I know that like this person is going to hold me as just a sweet silly goose and not try to punish me or make this mean more than it does.
It's a really huge shift. I feel like that's been
Mhm.
one of the biggest shifts in my life is I wasn't in the before times, I wasn't taking serious the things that were really serious, like being
Mm,
mistreated. I was like, "Oh,
mm,
I'm sure they had a lousy day."
mm.
Which, like, some grace is nice, but when it's chronic, in Spanish,
Sure.
I'd say avivate, like wake up, become
Mhm.
alive with this, right?
Sure.
And but I can release the seriousness from things that just don't friggin' need it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? The gravitas is within my control now, and
Well
that's
said.
dope. Why, thank you. Yeah.
Well said, Bea. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, that's it because it's not just about having grace all the time. It's about choosing where we have grace. And so I love
Right.
the way you said that. Well, is it worth, like, do I want to, would it serve me to feel upset about this right now? I don't have to. So why? It could be a fun and pleasurable experience. But then getting to have that energy and discernment and clarity for when, yeah, grace isn't the move or whatever. So, yeah, thanks for saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, my pleasure. So, can you take us back, way back in time to 2.5 years ago? I feel like we should have like space travel music start playing. Play it in your heads. Oh, that was really good.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, really. Um, cutie pie. What was going on in your life that you were like,
Mm,
"Yo, I need anchored. I need coaching. I need this help."
mhm.
Set the scene.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me at that time, the main reason for me joining Anchored was kind of relationship related instability, what we call in 12 step unmanageability, and just general. I wouldn't have had all the terms for this at the time, but just living dysregulated most of the time because of relational issues that were happening at the time, relational trauma. So going through a breakup, in other words. Basically going through a breakup, as many of us do, and become. But for me, it was I had been someone who identifies with just like being really like um yeah, really dysregulated by relationships for a long time, even though I might not have had that word. But and so the what got me into Anchored is having done so many other things up until that point. And what really truly got me is I had done 12 step for codependency, coda, for gosh, a year or two. And I had gone through my whole 12 steps. I had experienced profound like movement in my life and relationships. And I entered into a dating, I had taken time off of dating, entered into a dating relationship again, and watched slowly the same stuff creep up again. And I didn't have the tools to manage it. And those tools just weren't quite enough for me to feel okay, not succumb to just complete dysregulation and needing to end the relationship to feel okay. And that was my main pattern, was like the relationship would become so like I would become so tight and tense and dysregulated in my body due to a relationship that it just ending it was the only way to feel okay again. And these were with, these were sometimes some of the relationships were not great. Some of them were with these incredible, wonderful, receptive humans. It didn't always make sense, but I was the common denominator typically. And so after this final, like I've done a full 12 step program, I really was expecting something different. And after it, the same thing happened again. I remember thinking like, all right, I need to level up. Like I need some new skills. And uh, so it was from that place that and my one of my dearest friends sent me your cupcake episode. That was my very first entry. And it felt like balm. It felt like a soothing balm, that episode. And I continued listening, and I'm a go-getter. So it wasn't long after that I was like in Anchored. but, uh, but yeah, yeah. So those were the circumstances.
So, I'm curious about this up leveling, right?
Yes. Mm,
Yeah. So tell me about what are the skills and the tools that you were looking for and that you got from Anchored? And then I want to hear
mm,
all about like this glow up and what this leveling up
mm.
really looks and feels like.
Okay, great. Yeah, I didn't know what the tools were. I just knew I needed them at the time to be right. I was like, I clearly don't know. I've tried what feels like everything. And I'll also mention, because it's going to come up later for sure, that one of the other tools I was really involved with was parts work, or internal family systems work. And to this day, it is one of my favorite tools of all time. But the tools of Anchored are what made it took it to another level for me. So I was doing IFS already and having profound movement, but like I said, I didn't. So the what I knew I needed and what I got from Anchored, even if I didn't have the words, was I had never learned how to work with my mind before. That was the thing I had never ever been taught. And I was actually just saying this to a friend recently. I have been in somatic therapy for a long time, and it didn't make any sense to me. Like, you know me now, you know how incredibly somatically, like somatic is how that's like my goal, to move through things from a somatic place. And at that time, I was with the somatic therapist, and we would do exercises, but I was like, I don't understand what's supposed to be happening. Like, this is cool that I'm feeling a thing in my body, but then what next? What do I do with this? And the particular therapist didn't have any framework for that, and didn't explain it to me. And I don't know. So anyway, the somatic stuff felt like kind of a mystery, but I knew that my mind is fast. It is constant. It is my mind, my thoughts, they are overpowering. And that's something else I've known about myself for a long time. I just didn't know. I felt very sensitive to. Other people would point it out in me, and I'd be like, ah, like don't be mean about my head. But I knew inside also like, yeah, it's kind of a lot. I don't know what to do. Like it was kind of a little bit of both. So from Anchored, I mean, that's like the thing about Anchored is I felt it approaches from the thoughts and from the body. And for me, because I had never been taught how to organize, like think about, like manage, like love on in a really regimented, clear to understand way, that's what I needed first to be able to really. It's kind of shocking. Like I will never forget my first few weeks of Anchored ever because I was in therapy because again I've been using these other tools all the time trying to work some stuff out, and so I'm in therapy and it might have even been like week 2. We're talking early, not much had happened yet, but just some of that early, just being in the environment of Anchored. I went into therapy and I remember thinking, like this thought just came to me, I can tell a new story about what the sensations of my body mean. And I never went back. Suddenly it was like, rather than me just repeating the old patterns, it was, well, what does this mean? Let's go back to not knowing. Oh, is it anxiety? Well, maybe it's excitement. Is it grief? Sure, but how does it feel? Does it, is it stuck or is it going to move? What does it mean? And I just remember having this profound experience of connecting. So, like, this is like almost silly to say because I'm not even referencing the specific tools you taught me, but it was literally just being in that space. This happened almost organically, almost without me having to do anything. I will never forget that therapy session where I guided the whole session based on just following the somatic, journey of my body, and it moved, and I was like, holy shit, like what just happened? And so I think sometimes was my experience with Anchored over and over, was it didn't take much. And I do attribute that to like probably the decade of work I had been doing beforehand, maybe, but it took only these little glimpses of what was possible, of kindness towards myself, of this framework that made sense for all of this stuff to start moving. Is that, I don't want to be more specific. I'm not sure what I just said exactly, but happy to speak to more specific tools if you'd like, and then I can speak to the glow up too. Let me know.
Yeah, the main thing that struck me from what you said is that most people come to Anchored because they've done the talk therapy,
Mm,
and the somatics and the nervous system
mm,
and the inner child and the parts work are all sort of hazy. And there's this knowing I often hear about, yeah, I'm living from the neck up. Right? It's a
mm,
theme I talk about a lot. And so it's really fascinating to hear you say, "Oh, I'm bottom up. I'm in this body. I've been so present," which has been my experience of you, and that what was most shifting, most changing, most helpful was the thought work.
mhm,
It's really important to hear, and I think
mhm,
I'm really grateful that you're saying it because I think as I've been doing somatic work and nervous system work as my work for a very long time, or medium long time, but as it's getting popular, there's all this like, "Ugh, we don't need mindset work, but we do, we need it all." Right? And so I'm glad
mhm,
you're highlighting the importance of both. And if you're a person who feels tapped into their body, the metacognition skills that you get in Anchor, the skills of thinking about your thinking about your thinking
mhm.
can be really life changing.
Oh my gosh, and different tools for different people, right? Like, but I can say for myself and many of the people in my life, approaching it from having that thought work piece is a game changer. To be able to get into the body, it's like almost it's like got to be able to get there. Uh, for me, that's how it was, and a lot of my friends who I of course talk about Anchored, everyone in my life knows that I do this. It's a big part of my life, and so yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
So
well,
tell us about this glow up, this
you
level
read
up.
my mind.
I'm excited. Cutie pie.
Well, me too, because literally every chance I get to reflect on how things were and how things are now is an absolute gift. Because now I've leveled up. What a funny! I actually love that term. I'm not going to shy away from it. It's like kind of video game term. It's like it's one of my like core values. I love to level up. I love to learn. I love knowledge. See, I'm a big like yeah. So leveling up. But this glow up, it's become my data. It's become my baseline. So it can be easy to it becomes mundane if I forget, but these moments where I get to reflect on what it used to be like. So I'm just grateful to get to share that with others and reflect on it with myself always. But yeah, so I kind of described what it was like before. And I feel like I described it well enough. A lot of people listening probably understand what that's like. And now, I mean, from the moment I graduated from Anchored, I have not experienced a repeat of what my relationships have been like in the past. Not that doesn't mean that I haven't gone back to similar places, but they haven't had the result in my relationships that they used to. I consider myself now one of my greatest skills and like gifts of Anchored is that I can keep relationships. I can hold on to them for as long as I want. And if I don't want to do it, I cannot. But it's not a thing that I have to sever in order to feel okay. And that is like this guiding light for me whenever I start to get a little dysregulated or feel kind of freaked out, or the old story comes up, or a thought comes in that makes it seem like that person is scary, or they need to be ejected from my life. I just, I do the processes, which I could talk more about what that looks like. But and when I get back to that feeling of, oh my God, I didn't destroy this relationship. I got to keep this incredible human in my life. Like I got to go through that process with myself, but not ruin this thing. Like it's this incredible gift. And so yeah, for the good folks at home, I'm a queer person. I'm a non-monogamous person. So that's really relevant to me because the tools I have allow me to live my relational life according to my values that I've always dreamed of. I mean, I've considered myself non-monogamous for many years, but haven't really been able to do that, like kind of in name, but not really in practice. And now I have so much capacity to challenge my fears, to challenge stories, to do scary things with people that at the end of the day, like are what I want to be doing. For example, like yeah, feeling like having my relationships rooted in choice rather than obligation. So for me, because of my upbringing and my history with relationships, non-monogamy is really soothing for me because I get to know, like, well, if you're with me, it's because you want to be. You don't we're not in some like monogamous, you know, thing, which of course monogamy doesn't have to be like that, but it doesn't, there's not a dictation of the relationship itself that because of the structure, we have to be together and you can't be with anyone. It's so free. Like if I date someone, they're free to date whoever they want. It all is rooted in negotiation, consent, communication, all the things that matter to me. And so I never felt this secure with other humans, not just my romantic sexual partners. I have a platonic partner. I have friends mean the world to me. All of the relationships in my life, there's so much more longevity because I can like breathe and let them ebb and flow and feel secure with them and with myself. I mean, it's just an incredible blessing. Yeah, I could go on and on. So I'm going to pause just to.
What I'm hearing in there is two really beautiful things. The first is presence.
Mm,
And the second related is a healing of attachment wounds. Would you
mhm.
say that's true to your experience
Hell
at
yeah.
Anchored? Yeah,
Hmm.
I've been watching you do it, healing this way of relating to yourself and relating to safety and resourcing, right? And really finding a new grounding and a new safety in your environment, but that is of your own creation and a safety within. And my intuition is telling me that that deep work is what has allowed you to show up to these romantic and platonic relationships with this more secure internal relationship, this more secure internal attachment
Hmm.
that lets you show up to love and say yes in this new way. Am I getting that right?
Undeniably, yeah, that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, a non-negotiable huge piece of it for sure. It's
Yeah. And it's also been wonderful and incredible to watch you not just relate in these positive ways with greater ease, but when things have gotten rocky, I've
mm-hmm.
watched you meet them with this different groundedness. Like my shoulders just went back as I was thinking
Hmm.
about it, and I felt
Hmm.
my spine sort of settle.
I think the thing that's coming up for me about how I approach the situations is I just have so much more trust in myself, so much more, and so I trust that I know that I can trust myself to get through it. So even if I'm a little, I need to go to a certain place, or I need to like push someone away, just in my own mind, like I just know I'm not going to actually like it's not going to come out externally like it used to, where I'm good. Like I said, I'm going to disrupt the relationship or harm it in a way that can't come back from. So that trust is like huge. And so, I mean, I used to like the old me would hold on to what I was experiencing alone. And then when I was with that person, almost compulsively have to say it. Like if I had planned it, it had to come out. And now when I'm with the person, whatever's happening there is more important. It's like, well, oh, and like once I'm with them, I'm like, what? Like this is actually pretty simple, or it's just easy, or like the solution's right here, or I don't have to know, or you have some, we're doing this together. And all that stuff that happens when I'm alone and having this whole pattern play out, it doesn't really matter. And over time, I'm starting to learn that I can remember even when the patterns want me to play out, I'm alone, I'm spinning my wheels, like this is just me going through a pattern. And I can do this, sure. I want to spin my wheels all day, okay. If I don't feel like I can't, okay, that's fine. But when I'm actually with this person is when the meat of this is going to come out, and when my wisdom or my truth is going to come out the most as well. I don't actually have to do all that much stuff right now other than tend to myself and then trust myself to show up with that person and see what happens. And yeah.
Yeah, it's super helpful to go from, because I think when we don't have secured attachments with self or with others, those ruminating thoughts become the most important thought because we're so
Mm,
fear driven,
mhm, mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And when
Oh
we,
my gosh.
yeah, tell me more because that's resonating.
Oh, well, just when those the feeling of those thoughts, like I can feel it in my body. Those sorts of thoughts, when they're up, they convince me that they're the most important thought I could ever have, and that dealing
Mhm.
with whatever they're convincing me is true is the most urgent thing that could exist. And so that, and that's what I used to live from, was believing that that was true. And so,
Yeah.
um, just taking a big deep breath. That that story doesn't have as much of a grip on me anymore. Um,
Well, it's huge because it leads to so much freedom. It's
yes.
really liberating to not to have love and compassion for our thoughts and our stories and our patterns, but not necessarily believe them, right? To
Yep.
understand that their factiness is questionable on a good Wednesday, you know?
Yep. Hmm.
And it
Oh
again,
yeah.
it comes back to like we can hold ourselves with a lightness and we don't have to be so heavy about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Not so
super
heavy,
freeing.
not so urgent. Yeah, like we talk about this in Anchored and in Coaching Beyond as well. Like something that really stuck with me that you said to me once is, um, like for me, because of I think of myself as a typically kind of, let's say, fast-paced person, as just to put it in a little quick and easy box. For me, that slowing down, that rest, that not doing, that doing less, that is my medicine. And there's other folks whose default is that slow. They have a hard time getting going. They have a hard time maybe finding the energy, or they're more living in that slow place in a way that they might want that balance of experiencing both. And so their medicine might be the opposite. And so when I don't, yeah, when you said that to me, like, well, it always just supports me because I remember, it helps me to remember the personalization of these. For me, that just really helps it feel more accessible. Like it's not one thing for every person. And in Anchored, the tools, like the level of personalization is so there. It's so it's just part of it. And so I just remember that being really big for me. And I use it to this day. Like I'll remember, like, this is my medicine. Like, because my brain will want to go, well, this wouldn't be good for someone else. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like this is when, so like that, but like anything that those thoughts can grab onto sometimes to convince me not to do the thing that would break the pattern. Right. And so it's that just that little bit of specificity and helping me. Since I was a young person, I remember I need to understand things. Like I have a deep, like I need to understand them in order to believe, do something with it, like act on it. And I can get really stuck there. Like, well, if I don't understand it. And so that's something that, part of why I think Anchored worked for me so well, is like I was saying, like I'd be in therapy and I'm like, but I don't understand. And in Anchored, everything is explained. It's clear. Like the understanding is so high. And that for me personally made it, and continues to make it, so satisfying and accessible and like effective for me. So for all the other folks out there who have a high drive to understand things, Anchored's kick ass for
I love that's like your polite way to call people a super nerd. If you have a
that. Oh my
high
God.
need for understanding, aka if you're nerd-tastic like us. Whatever. I would
Oh,
totally ride my bike up to the Rochambeau Library to sit and read the encyclopedia. I read my way I
hell
would sit
yeah.
on the floor in the children's library, and I read all the way through the entire encyclopedia.
Yeah.
We're
Oh
nerds.
yeah. Gosh,
It's a
to
good
me,
program
nerdiness
for
is
nerds.
just,
Oh,
yeah, it's the greatest. You know,
the
I
greatest.
will say, Bea, too, uh, it's like I'm like, is this true? But I really think it is. I think Anchor really helped me embrace my nerdiness in like a big way. I really do. Now to me, like nerdiness, I really and you like listening to the way you describe yourself as a nerd so often, and what that means is that you are just incredibly driven to understand and be able to explain pretty much anything you specialize in or learn about or engage with. And I'm like, oh, that's what being a nerd is. I'm such a nerd. And now I'm like I have gone on to, I feel like it's really impacted me. This is like maybe side note, but it's really affected me. Like I'm about to go back to school, as you know. I've been taking prerequisites for years. And I show up with this like sense of pride for how I learn and how much I want to learn and the ways I'm gonna it really has. That's been a big shift. I haven't like maybe fully said to you or even verbalized to myself, but that kind of originated with you. That sense of just really owning that and how you model that. So here for the super nerds, not trying to shy away from that terminology. Let me tell you what.
That makes my heart so glad. Right? Like, in general,
Yeah.
but also in this day and age when there's so much anti-science, anti-learning, anti-knowledge,
Mm, mm,
we
mm.
gotta embrace it. Those of us who wanna eat the encyclopedia, we gotta embrace it because it really matters.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's also just like this ever greater movement towards our authenticity.
Exactly. Nailed it. Yeah.
Hey, people get really nervous about the community aspect, about being
Mm,
vulnerable, about being open, about people watching them get coached. Can you speak
mm,
to that? Please and thank you.
mm. Sure, my pleasure. I'm going to start with like watching get coached. I have had the experience of in a group, okay, I guess what I'm trying to say is for me, I do know about myself that I love a group session. Like, it's not to say that I don't get freaked out about it. Of course not. But I just have found over the years that when I share in front of a group of people, the movement, the grieving, the emotionality is profound. Like, that is where I am always surprised at how potent of a container it is. I would take, and so I would share in front of a group, and I would just be so moved by how much happened, how much relief I felt, how incredible it felt to be held by a group of people and learn that it was safe because I didn't know it was safe first, but then once I did it and people held me so beautifully, um, then I did, and so in Anchored, getting to have that like I remember like, especially because Anchored, from my experience and my experience of other folks in my cohort, is we're joining because we're looking to challenge some patterns, right? Pretty much, everyone there is looking to make a change. We're looking to challenge something, and so I did notice, at least in me, but I think in others as well, that like we're almost like seeing Anchored as this place to let some of this stuff out more. Like, well, okay, well, if that part of me would be resistance, I'm going to really embrace that resistance. Or okay, this part of me I'm going to really like talk about it and be open about it because we're all trying to bring everything to the table and in such like-minded community of folks on all spectrum of levels of engagement. Like there was other people like me, there were people jumping right in. And once I saw the variety of like what we all were coming with and the similar shared desire to kind of like be a little messy, be a little vulnerable, be a little just really be ourselves like times 10, it made it so easy to just share and trust this group of people and the result of being safe in that environment was so incredibly worth it. I mean, I remember when I first joined Anchored, I was a little annoyed that it was group coaching, like, oh, not one on one, you know? And I wouldn't trade that for the world now. Like, that is, I can't imagine getting as much out of it as when you're getting that container feedback from other folks. Like even if it's like their little emojis, because I don't know how to. It's an energetic thing to have them there witnessing, and then to have them able to, even though people are really mindful, they're not like they're not like gonna try to talk to me about what I shared too much, which I appreciate, and is part of the container. But just knowing that they get it, even them just saying like "I feel ya," is like it just meant everything. So um yeah, that's what I have on
I think that's really helpful because it can be, yeah, I think people get into that story that one-on-one is somehow better,
Hmm.
like it's deeper, and I stopped doing one-on-ones because I this work of being really seen and vulnerable in community is so potent.
Hmm.
And I've heard you share this before, if I'm not incorrect, that hearing other people tell their story has helped you.
Absolutely. Ab-
Yeah.
Starting with you, starting with your podcast, right? I mean,
Mm,
so yeah, and throughout my whole life, that's been true. When I watch someone else model something I didn't think was possible, it changes my life. And so I now aspire to be that person for other people. And that was, of course, true throughout Anchored. Other people sharing unlocks things for me. It sometimes it shows me things I couldn't have imagined were possible. Sometimes it just feels amazing to feel connected and to, oh my God, how is someone else saying an experience that I thought was so complicated and they're just explaining it and it's relating and um yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
And if I may speak to that one-on-one thing, because
Yeah.
versus group thing, because I had that, like I said, that own my own part, kind of be like one-on-one's better, and I really think that that comes from some sense of like I don't have all the like words up for me right now that are would make this a little faster maybe, but it's like we think one-on-one's better because we're getting more of your attention and that's worth more. And I think there's something about that's a little like individualistic about that versus like the value of community, like the value of someone providing a space where you are surrounded by people to do this healing work as opposed to thinking that like private or one-on-one is like having someone's attention for longer is like better. That's like where my brain's going. Is there some way we can put value on that based on like our capitalistic world that we live in that doesn't emphasize as much how incredibly powerful and important it is to heal in community. So I'm so
I
grateful for that.
I think you hit it right on. I think that is a really this false valuation is exactly it. And when we give ourselves the space to realize that connecting with everyone in the community makes everything so much more potent, we can really experience it differently. Thank you for bringing that piece in. What'd you go to Oberlin or something?
You know it. Oberlin. The listeners
Oh,
must know that Bea and I both went to Oberlin College, and it does come up with some
it,
regularity.
I mean, as well it should, because because,
Uh,
17-year-old us made a
mhm.
choice. Weirdo
Yes,
school for life. And we got to honor
weirdo
that.
school. That's
Weirdo school for
right.
life.
Like
That's right.
100% I went there because it was so weird.
It was so weird. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I can be whole
100%.
me here. Woo!
100%. I was really needing that.
Absolutely. Good
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
But yeah, can
Yeah.
you imagine if Anchored was with one-on-one coaching? Like, I'm actually like, now that I think about this, I'm like, wait, you would just be alone with how would the group even know what was going on with you?
Yeah.
How would we even be able to? I mean, of course it could work, but in my mind, I'm having this moment now being like, wow, I can't, that's just, kind of rocking my world to think about that. And like really the mindset I was in coming from at that time was I want this me and just about me and my and I wasn't yet so yeah, I wasn't yet so open to that to the community piece. Oh wow, that's just cool. I haven't really thought about that.
Yeah.
Having
Well,
a
we
moment.
don't realize like how incredible it is to be so witnessed.
Yeah. Hmm.
And what I watch rock people's world is the chat,
Oh yeah.
and that while you're getting yeah, you talk about it.
Oh,
They
oh
hear me
great. Oh my gosh.
okay.
Well, what you're making me think of now is accessibility and like the different ways
Oh,
people show up into a space and like the different ways people show up in community. And so like I said this a little bit before seeing everyone's different ways they came to the coaching, but like some people get coached like twice over the whole program, and that's like perfect for them. And me, I'm always like, I want to get coached every single time. I should probably not this time because I did the last two times. I'm sort of like, how much can I, how much space do I take up? But not, you don't have to be that way. And so the chat, what that made me think of is people can engage through the chat. You can engage in coaching through the chat if that's like the way that you feel able to access it that day. You don't have to be, yeah, it doesn't have to look one way. And then maybe what you were thinking of with the chat is just like that's where so much of the support is coming in, like that people are sort of like constantly like just responding with their sweet resonances, or that they're relating, or like, thank you for saying this, thank you for saying that, with their sweet emojis. The chat is like this ongoing little reminder that everyone's with you all the time, even when you're, because the thing about coaching is it's community, but it's not like we're all in there with you at the same time. You're being coached one on one by you, and it's just that everyone's there witnessing you, and so you're getting that individual, crucial to have that individual attention to really go into your thing, but everyone's there, like, relating. You even start them often with an exercise everyone does together, or we'll end with an exercise everyone does together, or in the middle of someone's coaching. Well, if everyone else relates, go ahead and do this, follow right along. And I know I do most of the time because I am relating. And even if I'm not, why not go through a sweet somatic exercise with the powerful energy of the group together? That's some of the most transformative times I can recall. So yeah, I don't know if that's what you meant by the chat, but that's what came up for me.
I love it. Well, yeah, it also reminds me, I was talking with a woman yesterday who did Anchored last year and
Mm.
did not come live to one single call. And she
Interesting.
was
Yeah.
telling me she left her marriage of 35 years,
Let's go.
enrolled in grad school, is moving towns. Like, she's doing all
Oh
these
yeah.
things she's wanted to do since the 80s and didn't come to a single live call, but she listened to all of them,
Yes.
every single one.
Yes.
Like, I went on every dog walk with her the day after
Yes.
coaching,
Yes.
and she allowed it to change her life. And I think
Mm,
it's really vital what you're bringing up, that there's no one way to do this,
mm-mm.
and we don't have to bring perfectionism in the room either.
That was one of the things you said on day one, like intro call, intro thing, that I can imagine. I'm not going to say all, because humans are so beautifully variable and different, but like, I think a lot of us in that room were like wildly scribbling that part down, like, okay, no, don't perfectionist in here. Like, you really nailed that one in early and reinforced it early. And I know from having relationships with other folks in the cohort that that resonated with at least the other folks I'm in communication with. But that was big to set it up early. And again, we're there to change patterns. Like, a lot of us know this about ourselves, or at least I can say I knew that about myself coming in. And so just the way you set it up from the get go, really encouraged me to take that to heart, really. And I did.
So I talked to a lot of people who have been listening to the podcast for years and have
Mm,
been wanting to make these changes, wanting to step out of their codependent, perfectionist, and people pleasing habits, wanting to live more fully in their bodies, have the kind of relational shifts you've been talking about. And they're wondering if Anchored is for them. They're wondering if they have a place in Anchored. And I'm wondering, given your 2.5 years of experience in the Anchored process, what you would say to them.
I am often inclined to start with, like, it's not for everyone. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to do it. Like, it's because I'm going to say more, but I often start with, like, look, my experience with it was profound, and I would recommend it to literally any person. But there are reasons why it might not be the right thing for you to do at this time. And I always like to, that's the first thing that comes to me, because at the end of the day, if you're not choosing to do it, then you might not get as much out of it. I don't know. Like, it just feels like it being rooted in agency is such an important thing. And I just want to honor that. For me, it was so clear that I wanted to do it, but I don't know what it's like to be someone for whom it might not feel clear. So I'd want to ask questions too, like, well, what does it seem scary to you? Like, what's getting in the way? And then I'd be able to understand better. Like, because I can imagine the only reason I would say, like, it might not be for someone is because they're simply not feeling ready, or because, like, there's something going on with them. But the program, I can't imagine a single human on the planet for whom the program doesn't work for. Does that make sense? It's not about that the program is only for some people. It's that, I don't know. Look, if I was someone who maybe wasn't fully ready, cool. Wait, I don't know. Wait, maybe give it a beat. But I guess what I would say is, yeah, I'm actually like thinking of a dear friend of mine who like was contemplating doing it and then decided not to for the moment. And it's like, and I'm thinking of them a lot because, like, on one hand, they like have some ruminating thoughts about, like, I should have done it. And if I had only was doing that, like, this or this or this would be better in my life. And on one hand, I'm like, no, baby, because you're just fine and you don't need anything to be okay. But this is, um, whenever you're ready to do it, it the tools are there to dramatically change your life. So it's just like it's there for you when you want it. And like if there's any room to practice that agency right away about when is right for you, great. But whenever you do decide to do it, if you do, it's probably going to be the right thing for you for that reason. And yeah, I also would like look forward to like more people who have resistance being a part of it because Bea will get to learn from you. And so the program will get to like grow and become more exciting and accessible for more types of people. Like maybe you have some perspective that's really important. I don't know that, but I just like love the idea of the community really growing into more types of folks because um, I can't think of any person who wouldn't benefit from it. And that's my experience of like the people in my life who have benefited simply from the way I've changed and shifted. It is benefiting everybody around me. And there's not a single friend I know who hasn't been like so excited to hear about what I'm doing in this program, learn from me what I'm doing in this program. And yeah, so yeah, that's what I've got on that.
That's really lovely to hear, and I'm love that you brought in what I always share at the end of every
Mm,
episode,
mm,
right? That when one of us heals, we help heal the world.
mhm.
And it's really heartwarming and beautiful to hear that your friends see the changes in you and see the growth and are excited to hear about what you're learning and doing and becoming, and it's beautiful, Carrie.
Undeniably so. Yeah, the change is like palpable, visible, and it's been like an incredible honor to get to um, share what I'm learning with the people I love and watch
Yeah.
them change just from that. It's just like so in the ways they want to, or have them like come to me with questions or like, well, you know, how like there's so much interest and engagement around because they see me. And not only because they see me, because the way I talk about it, they watch me light up. They watch the things I talk and the way I live be in alignment. And then there's, yeah, so much interest. And so many of the people in my life are going through similar things. And this work has been, even just like through me secondarily, it's been really impacting my entire community. So, yeah, pretty awesome. So thanks, Bea. You know, pretty grateful for Anchor. Needless to say. Pretty stoked.
And I'm really grateful to have you in the community. You know, I say it all the time that the community is exactly what it is because of everyone who's in it. So I'm really grateful that you brought and continue to bring your Carrie spark. Carrie, what would you say to folks who feel like they don't have time for this work? Like, Anchored is going to take up so much bandwidth, and I don't know.
Anchored is a engage to the degree you want to program. So like the example you shared earlier, somebody could listen to the coaching calls and not have to go on the timeline that's prescribed. You can literally all of the modules are self-paced and it's kind of a get out of it what you put into it sort of situation. But that's like so individual. So you can get a lot out of it with just the amount of time you have. And I would end with saying that like quote or that like saying comes to mind of like, well, and 2 years have passed and I could either have done this or not have done it. You know what I mean? So I think that the benefit of doing it even with what time you have is better than not doing it at all. And then staying open to how the program might shift your sense of time and scheduling and how you might engage with it is pretty juicy.
Super juicy. I like the foreshadowing to the reclaim your time module,
Yeah, that's exactly what that was.
right? Y'all, there is a whole
Game
module that I used
changing.
to sell as its own course and have rolled into Anchored on the house that teaches you how to calendar more betterly because none of us know how to look at our calendar and make sense of time until we like stop and pause and actively do it, right? So I like the
Oh yeah.
foreshadowing. I appreciate it. Can I call you
Oh,
O Henry from now on?
well, that's a reference I don't
I mean,
understand, but you can call me it.
oh, That's just like some deep nerd. Don't even worry about it. Gift of the Magi. We'll talk about it later. Anyway.
Uh, I'll look it up. I'll look it
Okay,
up.
cool, cool, cool. Cool, 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 like a
Yeah,
nerd would.
like a nerd
Thank you.
would.
Carrie, I'm super grateful for you,
Mm,
for your time, for your energy, for you showing up here and always.
mm.
Thank you for being you and bringing all of you to Anchored.
Thank you, Bea. Like I said, my pleasure. And I hope this episode has demonstrated, uh, yeah, my gratitude for this program and how much it's
Mm,
impacted me. I'm so
thank you.
stoked we get to keep working together.
Isn't it so fun? It
Yeah,
never has to end.
so
Yay.
good. Yeah,
So,
thank you,
so
Bea.
good. Thank you, baby. That was such a phenomenal conversation. Carrie is such a delight, and it was really magical to hear them talk about just how much the program has helped them and rippled out to really be impactful with their friends and their community. Just so beautiful. So, my loves, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. And I hope you'll join us in the next Anchored community starting up so soon. It would be absolutely thrilling to have you with us. So, let's do what we do. Gentle hand on your heart should you feel so moved. And remember, you are safe, you are held, you are loved. And when one of us heals, we help heal the world. Be well, my beauty. Mwah. Ciao, ciao. Talk to you soon.